Hi everyone, I'm Jamie, and today you're going to be learning about while loops in Python. Okay, so something to note is that in Python, with our loops, we have a singular loop with conditions, and an infinite loop. A singular loop is a loop that is only used once. A singular loop with conditions is a loop that is only used once with conditions, and an infinite loop is a loop that just keeps on going by itself. Okay, so let's start off with our singular loop. So we're going to do some comments just to kind of signify what we're speaking about. So this is our singular loop, okay, and let's get started. So we're going to print a string, and that is going to be singular loop as well, because we want to be able to see what we're speaking about when it comes to the actual code. So let's create a count. So count is equal to 0. And then we're going to use a while loop. So while count. And then we're going to use a while loop. So while count is less than 11, then print a string of number, and then we're going to do our count. And then we're going to do count is plus equals to 1. So that's saying that the count is now count plus 1. Okay, and then let's print a string of number sequence finished. Okay, so let's explain what this singular loop is doing. We're printing out singular loop to signify what we're actually doing, and then we're setting a variable of count to equal 0. So while the count is lower than 11, so while the count is less than 11, we're going to print a string of number, and then we're going to print the count. And the count is always plus 1 to itself. So what we're trying to do is get the count to stop when it gets to 10, and it will print out numbers 0 to 10. Okay, let's try and run the script and see the result that we actually get. So you can see that singular loop was printed, and we got 0 to 10, and our sequence finished. Note that this loop only ran once, which is why we call it a singular loop. It didn't happen more than once, it just ran, and then the script was finished. Okay, so let's do our singular loop with conditions. Okay, so let's do a comment. Okay, and let's also print a string. So it's really easy just to copy and paste things, because this does get quite repetitive. Some of the loops are very similar, so you know. So again, the count is equal to 0. Then we're doing while count is less than 5. We're going to print that the count is less than 5. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the software, the program, to tell us that a number is lower than 5. Okay, and then we're going to count plus equals 1 again, and then we're going to print the count. So let's do else, and then we're going to print count string is not less than 5. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're creating a singular loop with conditions. So the count is equal to 0, and then while the count is less than 5, we're going to print that a number is less than 5. And then we're going to say that the number is 1 greater every time it prints. Okay, and then if it's not greater than 5, we're going to print that the number isn't greater than 5. So let's go to Tools, Sublime, and let's Python and run the current file. Oh, we made a mistake. Okay, so here's where we made the mistake. We did a bracket, a parentheses, sorry. We should have actually only stuck to 2. So let's again go to Sublime and run the file. You can see that we got the singular loop with conditions. So 0 is less than 5, 1 is less than 5, 2 is less than 5, 3 is less than 5, 4 is less than 5, and so on. But then when it gets to 5, it will say that 5 is not less than 5. But if we were to take the numbers higher, we could go to 1 billion, and then it would go all the way up to 1 billion, saying that 1 billion is not less than 5. Okay, so let's do our infinite loop now. So we're going to go down, and we're going to do this. So we're going to go to infinite loop, okay, and then we're going to print a string of infinite loop. So this is the loop that is only going to run, it's going to keep on running, sorry. So this loop will never stop printing itself or starting again and again. So we're going to say that the variable a is equal to 1. And then we're going to do while a is equal to 1. So this is going to be declares an infinite loop. So basically, we're saying while a is equal to 1, and because a is always going to be equal to 1, it's never going to change, then we're going to do an infinite loop, okay? So we're just going to ask a user for a number. So number is equal to int input, enter a number, and then we're going to print what they entered. Or rather, let's do it like this. So print you entered, and then we're going to do comma, and we're going to do number. Okay, so let's once again run this Sublime Python run current file. We can see that our singular loop went from 0 to 10, and then the sequence finished, and then we went to the singular loop with conditions 0 to 5, saying that everything below 5 is less than 5, and then we've got the infinite loop. So we're asked to enter a number, so let's enter a number. You entered 8, but now we need to enter another number, and another, and another, and another, and another, and so on. So we're constantly being asked to do something because the loop is infinite and will never stop running. Okay, so let's conclude what we've learned. So, we've got, okay, let's just space these out. We've got the singular loop, okay? So, in this singular loop, we can set a variable to equal something. And then we can say, while that variable is something to another parameter, okay? And then we're going to print that, the number, and then the count, so we can print variables. So essentially, a singular loop will only run once, and inside of this loop, you can do whatever you want. You can do any operators, any parameters, anything you like. And then we have this singular loop with conditions. So this is the loop that will run once, only once, again, and we can set a variable to equal something, but instead of actually putting the parameter in, we're just going to do a comparison. So this is just saying that that it's going to be less than 11, but okay, so this is how do I explain it? This is something that's saying something is going to be something, and then this is a comparison saying is something or is something not, because this only has one option where, so this uses an if statement, right? But then this actually uses an else. So this has got if and no elif or else statements, but this has two options. So that has one outcome and this has two. So in the algorithm language, it'd probably be more probable with this that you can have more than one option. Okay, so the singular loop with conditions similar to the singular loop will only run once. And then we've got the infinite loop. Okay, so with the infinite loop, we're setting a variable. So while that variable is always going to be something, we're going to declare an infinite loop through doing that. And then we can ask a user to do something, print something, or, you know, call a function, or do whatever we want to do inside of that loop. Everything inside of a loop is not limited. You can do whatever you want inside of that loop. You can use strings, integers, floats, anything you want. Okay, and that is how we use for and while loops in Python. If you'd like to learn more, check out my channel and subscribe. Thank you for watching.